Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time again. Let's talk metal. For this episode, I have rounded up a bunch of questions that have popped up on recent live streams and in the comments section on recent videos. Things that I thought were, interesting questions and maybe deserved a follow-up, but maybe was going to take more time than we could dedicate to it on a live stream or type out in a YouTube, comment or something like that. I also noticed a lot of these topics kind of tie into where I stand, both as a heavy metal fan and as a heavy metal collector here at the beginning of 2025. This is getting recorded in middle of January. So yeah, middle of January might be a couple of weeks before I actually get this one posted. But yeah, there was ended up being kind of a common thread to some of these questions. So I've spliced them together. So yeah, no music, no albums, no song clips today. Just more kind of a little bit of a mailbag episode, but also kind of a chance to reflect on where things stand for me and heavy metal at this point. What kind of precipitates a lot of this is that recently NILE played here in town, and I did not go to the show. And it's kind of a bummer that I didn't. But when I think about why, well, there are reasons for it. The big thing is, in this case, both, kind of an issue of time and a little bit of an issue of money. Mm, Time and money are the two themes that are going to tie a lot of the questions together tonight. I think for a lot of people, they always feel like, money is the one thing that's holding them back. That's the limiting factor. And sure, it's extremely important. As I've gotten older, I've come to realize that time is every bit as much of a limiting factor when it comes to the things that we would like to do. So, why exactly did I not go to the Nile concert? I mean, I often kind of, complain that there's not many good concerts to go to here in the southeastern US. Very few good shows pop up in this area. I can only think of maybe three others in the past year. I didn't make it to any of those either. This one I knew about ahead of time, and it was about a 20-minute drive from here, not far at all. Had a relatively early start time for the show. Don't know how long it would have taken, but nevertheless, there were some variables that were in my favor. And ticket price was 35 bucks. There were four bands on the bill. Nile was the only one I was interested in seeing. 6 Feet Under was also on the bill. I have no interest in 6 Feet Under, so that didn't matter. I don't even know who the other two bands were. I had never heard of them. Wouldn't know the names if somebody said them to me right now. They could be really good bands. I'm just not familiar with them. So yeah, with it being close by and the ticket price being reasonable, why did time and money get in my way? Well, the first thing when it comes to money, it's not just the ticket that you're buying. I mean, to go to that show, buy the ticket, pick up a Nile shirt. Hopefully they'd have one that I liked. And grab a beer, probably a bottle of water. Probably wouldn't have even two beers since I'd be driving that night. I'm pretty quickly looking at probably a $75 night, and that's not nothing for a chance to see one band, essentially. Yes, I'm seeing a couple of others, but maybe they turn out great. For the most part, though, I'm really saying I'm willing to fork out $75-ish just to see Nile. That's not cheap. I'm not saying it's ridiculous. Again, I think the ticket price is fair, but it all adds up pretty fast. But and again, it's not just money that's the issue with this one, it's also time. I think the concert was on a Tuesday night, which couldn't have been much of a worse night. It's right in the middle of the work week. Tuesday is one of my busiest days at work, and I have to be up every morning on my feet at 6 a.m. to head to work. And so it's not like I could take the next day off or sleep in or anything like that. Would be right back, on the grind first thing Wednesday morning. With four bands playing, I don't know exactly how long each band was going to play or anything like that, but it could easily have been midnight-ish before I got home and had a chance to crash. And that's at least an hour later than I usually do. So, yeah, the timing was really poor. Had it been on like a Friday night, Saturday night, somehow fallen on like a holiday night where I didn't have to get up first thing the next morning, that would have been a big push towards me deciding to go to the show. Yeah, couple of other factors that played in here too, besides just the money and the timing. One thing is that, I don't really know metalheads on the local scene. If I had gone to this show, I would be surprised if there were more than two people that I recognized in the audience, which means most of that whole night I was going to spend standing around or sitting around by myself, looking at crap on my phone. Couldn't hear anything, can't listen to anything because it's going to be noisy. But basically just, flipping through articles or whatever, waiting for the next band to hop on stage and set up and play. So it's like, again, that's then part of that price tag and part of the timing. Do I want to spend that entire Tuesday night sort of just mm, sitting around by myself, bored, waiting for a band to start, two of whom I don't know, one of whom I don't really want to see, basically just again waiting for one band to play for however long their set was, and I have no idea how long their set would have been. So yeah, that doesn't make it really enticing to do this kind of thing either. Yeah, it's different if you've got, a group of, folks that you're going with and hanging out with and socializing with. It's another thing if you're just going and yeah, sitting there checking your watch every 3 minutes, wondering, it's been an hour. Anybody else want to play here or what the heck? So yeah, sum total, the bottom line was I decided that given the cost, given the fact that it was on a Tuesday night in the middle of the work week, given that I was going to spend a whole lot of the night just kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs, waiting for NILE to play. Hopefully they would have played third if I went. With my luck, they would have been last, and that means I would have had to have sat through all three of the other bands before seeing the one band I wanted to. I just decided it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the money. It wasn't worth the time. It's a shame. I would have liked to have seen NILE again. I saw them once 26 years ago, I think. I liked the new album a lot. Would have been fun to check them out again, but balancing out the pros and cons, it's just like, it's just not worth it, which kind of stinks. I guess one last variable that's worth quickly pointing out here is that for me, I am not hardwired to think of, ooh, I've got to see this band live. Because growing up in the rural South, there were no real options to see bands live, not hard rock and metal bands anyway. And even as an adult, as I've lived in different places, I've never lived in a place with a really active concert scene where metal bands were playing on a regular basis. I've never lived near a big hub where all the tours were likely to stop, you know? And as such, I've never really associated live music the same way that a lot of people do. For a lot of folks that live in big areas, Philadelphia, DC, obviously LA, Chicago, whatever, live music is pretty easy to access. There's always bands coming through, and if you miss one or two, you can always catch something else. But yeah, the thought of being able to go see the bands live, having that be like a normal part of the routine, that's just never been part of my routine. I've never had that kind of access to bands. So it's a concert, even an opportunity to go see one for me is kind of like, okay, that's weird. How does that work out again? And for me, being a heavy metal fan, it's very much listening to the records or listening to the stuff online. Seeing bands live and interacting with them in that particular fashion, it's just not really part of my DNA because I've never been in the right places to do that. So I guess in a way that affects my decisions because it's not like not seeing Nile doesn't seem weird to me. It's just like, well, yeah, of course you're not going to see him live because you never see anyone live because things just don't line up that way for me. But that's just the way it goes. Again, not really trying to complain here, and it's not like, oh, boo-hoo, I live in the wrong place. It's just pointing out that, yeah, there's factors that mean that it's really hard for me to catch live shows, time and money being a big part of the equation. So, yeah, shame that didn't work out. Maybe I'll be able to catch someone touring this summer. That's a much better time for me, at least in terms of work schedule and such, to maybe have a, evening where I don't have to be up at the crack of dawn the next day. We'll see. On to question number 2 here that folks have asked me recently. Why have I not yet joined the heavy metallurgy Discord? Marty set this up back around the holidays. for folks that are interested in it. And it's been very successful by all accounts. Marty and others have told me that, yeah, they've got over 100 folks have signed up for it. People are, posting messages, interacting there pretty much on a regular basis, day in and day out. And it sounds like it's running really, really well. And that's excellent. Really happy that it's going well for folks. And a lot of folks have said, hey, well, when are you going to hop in and chat? And I had originally said, like, yeah, I may do it after the holidays. I had a really busy holiday schedule, but it's now after the holidays. And I can honestly say at this point, it's just not going to happen anytime in the near future. And again, that's kind of a shame. I'm not avoiding it for any reason. It's probably a lot of fun. I have a feeling I would enjoy it. But in this case, time is the absolute deal breaker. I am pulled in a lot of directions on a daily basis. My job is pretty demanding, and I'm working at it a lot. At home, I have a lot of, chores, errands, just general upkeep to provide a nice home for my family. I've got a family to interact with, and that takes time as well. I've got, a group of friends I play cards with once a week, and, that's a time commitment to those guys, which again is a lot of fun, but that takes up one entire evening. I've got videos to make for this channel once per week and the metallurgy live stream to set up once a week. And again, those are fun activities that I enjoy, but they take a certain amount of time. Just to create a halfway decent looking thumbnail and set up a live stream link, get that sent out to guests and stuff, that's a minimum, 1 to 2 hours worth of work each week. That's usually why on Wednesday nights I'm not interacting a ton during the album club live streams. I'm listening to the album club, but I'm working on trying to get things set up for Friday night. It's all time. There's only so much time to do things, and interacting on the Discord in a regular and meaningful way would take up more time. And I just do not have the time for that right now. Again, it's kind of a shame. I would enjoy it, but I don't have the time to commit to it. And I'm one of those people that I don't want to do something half-assed. If I were going to interact on the Discord, I'd want to do it on a regular basis, be able to make a meaningful contribution, respond to folks when they're posting replies or asking me questions. I don't want to hop on there once or twice, do it for 2 or 3 days, and then ignore it for the next 3 weeks. That's just not my approach to doing, well, anything. And it's not how I'd want to approach the Discord. Since I know I don't have the time to dedicate towards it, I just don't want to get it started. It would just be one more thing pulling me in a different direction. So again, here the common thread is I just don't have the time. It's a shame. And again, maybe during the summer, after my semester wraps up, I'll be able to interact with it on a regular basis. It'd be fun. It seems like it's a lot like the old message forums on the Maniacs board, the Lapland board, and places like that, where I used to contribute quite regularly. But I had the time back then to contribute regularly. And where my life's at these days, I just don't have time for another thing that would require a bunch of time. All right, question number 3. Why don't I buy more band merch? Sometimes folks ask, is like, you don't seem to have a lot of like shirts. I have some metal shirts, but if you watch live streams and videos regularly, you notice that, yeah, I wear the same stuff, on a pretty regular basis. And the answer to this one is money. Uh, Money's been the limiting factor on merchandise for me. Most of my life, I've not had a lot of money to put into heavy metal as a fan or as a hobby. And the merchandise question for me always came down to this. It's like, I could buy the really cool band t-shirt for 15, 20 bucks, or I could buy the band's record for 15 or 20 bucks. I have enough to buy one of these things, not both of these things. Which one do I buy? Do I buy the shirt, which will look cool while I'm walking around living in places where there's not much of a heavy metal contingency, so no one's going to recognize what I'm wearing. If they do, they're just going to look at it kind of side-eyed and wonder what's up with him. Or worst case scenario, they're going to get confrontational about it. Or I can buy the record that I can, sit, enjoy, listen to on my own, play it as much as I want to, and actually know what the band sounds like and know how the album is. For me, that equation almost always works out in favor of buy the record, pass on the shirt. And so, yeah, that's why I have bought a lot of records over the years, but I have not bought a comparable amount of band merchandise. And these days, of course, yeah, I can afford a little more stuff than I used to could, but merchandise is now more expensive. CDs are more expensive. We'll get to that one in just a minute. So the math still kind of works out the same. It's like, well, do you want to buy the hoodie or the CD? The hoodie, the CD is maybe now 20 bucks. The freaking hoodies, and they're like $75. It's like, that one. There's not much of a question anymore. So, yeah, would it be cool to have, dozens and dozens of other shirts? Kind of. Um, but what would I do with them? They would tie up a lot of money. I'd wear them here and there doing videos and live streams, but they're not things I can wear in a normal work day. I can put my Iron Maiden t-shirt on under my, button-down dress shirt for work. And I've done that before, but what's the point? No one's going to know you're wearing it. No one's going to see it. You're not, again, signaling to other metalheads as I go, hey, I like metal too. So, no, it doesn't work that way because no one can see it. So, yeah, just in terms of the cost of it, I've never really bought a ton of band merch. I'd have, as just a footnote, I've had more band shirts and stuff in the past. They do build up over time, but I actually sold off most of my old stuff years ago on eBay. I had a lot of stuff like I had a early 90s Dark Throne long sleeve for Under a Funeral Moon. I had a really rare European Burzum long sleeve with a unique design on it. Uh, a Wolfslayer Abyss Mayhem t-shirt, obituary, um, cause of death two-sided t-shirt. A lot of really cool ones. And I wore them, again, back in the day when I was just, a dumb kid bumming around. But they had been sitting in a Foot Locker for years, hardly ever touched, and they were worth a lot of money. I sold them, and that helped me pay bills. So, yeah, would it be kind of cool to have them and show them off? I guess, but the money came in handy and paid for other things. But yeah, bottom line, band merch is expensive, and I know it's a good way to support the bands and all of that, but I can't give all the bands all my money all the time and have no money left to pay bills, do stuff with my family, and yeah, all of that. There's only so much you can spend. Like most metalheads, I am not a, well-to-do rich person. All right, on to question 4. Why do I still buy physical copies of things? This popped up, I think, on one of the Album Club streams, and it was from a user who doesn't post comments regularly. And I don't think they were really trying to be trolly or anything, but they just posted and it's like, hey, why do all of you keep buying physical copies in this day and age? And yeah, it might have been easy to write off as like, oh, someone's trying to be a little snarky whilst we were showing off albums. But I think it was, a question worth following up on because we don't need to buy physical copies of things anymore. You can hear just about everything you want to on Spotify or YouTube Music. Uh, I mean, the list of things you can't hear on those platforms, sure, there are things you can't. It can take a while to find something that you don't find on YouTube or Spotify or a similar platform. It costs a lot less. It takes up a lot less space. I mean, there are real advantages. I understand the appeal, especially for younger generations, in not buying everything as a physical copy and just being like, yeah, it's all here on my phone, tap of a couple of buttons, $10 subscription fee a month. So what's with you boomers and your physical copies? Yeah, it's, I think, kind of a fair question. And I think what people don't get who are into, who don't collect physical media is that for especially folks Generation X and backwards, we didn't grow up with that kind of access to anything. If you wanted to know about a certain comic book series or a certain movie or a certain band, You had to get the physical stuff, even if it was just getting a copy of someone else's, CD. You get a blank cassette copy of it, or you use a blank VHS and record it off of TV. If you wanted to have access to it, you had to have a physical copy. And so we're used to that. We grew up with that. It's ingrained in us. Sure, we can change our ways. For most of humanity, that's a lot easier said than done. But there are other advantages to the physical copies as well that people, I think, sometimes forget about. The physical copy gives you a chance to interact with the music in different ways. If I'm, for example, getting the new Ara album and I'm just, buying a download of it, I can hear the music on crappy little phone speaker while staring at, a little pixelated looking thing on the screen. Eh, that's about it. That's going to be the limit of your interaction. If you get the actual CD copy, you can open it up. Hey, there's more artwork inside besides just, what's on the cover. The booklet's got lyrics. The booklet's got more really cool pictures and artwork and stuff in it as well. You can sit and follow along with the lyrics in your hand, not just having to jump to another website on your phone and click through, five different permissions for cookies and however many pop-up ads are in your way, only to realize that they only have the lyrics for three of the songs and half the words are obviously incorrectly entered on the website, and then you got to look for a different site. And the other thing is with the physical copy too, you can also play it on a better sounding system than a pair of earbuds or whatever, your phone speaker is capable of doing. You don't have to have, a $30,000 high-end stereo system. I put my stereo components together years ago. It might have been a total of $500. And I mean, that was an investment at the time, but hearing music that way, as opposed to just, something rinky-dink like you hear on a phone, it's a world of difference. Music sounds so much different and so much better that way. And I think that's not just a matter of opinion, that's objectively true. And again, this I think is a big thing for bands. If you aren't happy with your physical copy sales, make sure you're giving customers something that's worth buying. Some CDs, like, this new Aura one, yeah, it's nicely packaged. This is worth buying the physical copy to sit down and handle. The new NILE album from last year was the same way. It had unique artwork on every page. Carl adds tons of liner notes to each song, talking about the background and the Egyptian history and all that stuff. Those kind of things, you add those into your package, and all of a sudden people are like, I want that package. I want that item. Compare that to something like the Morbid Angel CD reissues that Earache does. They're a piece of crap. It's the disc and just, twofold panel, no booklet, no liner notes, no nothing. If that's all you're going to offer me on a physical copy, yeah, I might as well save a few bucks and just buy the download. There's nothing to interact with on a really shitty reissue CD like that. Make the physical copies nice, and people are going to be willing to buy them because that's a way to interact with them. If I just download the new Nile album off of Bandcamp or whatever other site, I'm not getting all of Carl's liner notes. I'm not getting to see all the cool extra pieces of art that were commissioned for the album. You're missing out on things when you don't have the physical copies. Yeah. And again, it's the way that, older generations had to interact with things. It's what we're used to. Last point on buying physical things is that, again, there's also that kind of, rush that you get when you go out looking for things. I have been buying records for over 30 years. I've been going to record stores my whole life, helping my dad look for things as a little kid. Walking into a record store, there's still that little moment of rush. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to find here, but there's a chance I want to find something cool. A lot of days I don't. Went to the local store today, didn't have anything I wanted, didn't spend a dime. But there's still that moment. It's just like, it's cool as you flip through the CDs or the records. The next flip could be something that you've been looking for a long time. Something new that's come out that you didn't know about. Some kind of, different pressing or odd release from an artist you really enjoy. There's a little bit of excitement there that makes it fun. And I do not get that same experience when I'm clicking things on Bandcamp or scrolling through a distro list online. Just like, yeah, now loading CD, items 16 through 45. Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't want those, don't want those, don't want those. There isn't that same sort of, sense of excitement that something cool may show up here in a minute. Just doesn't quite work the same when you're buying non-physical media. So yeah, I think there are good reasons that people still buy physical medium. And again, it's not for everyone. That's okay. That's not how you're engaging with music or your hobby. But for some of us, there are good reasons. It's not just, oh, we're being dumb and throwing money away on stone knives and bearskins. All right. Last question here is, why don't I buy more stuff? People recommend stuff all the time, and yeah, I really appreciate it. That's a big thing we do in heavy metal circles and probably in most music circles is you like recommending bands for other people to check out. And it's great when they check it out and report back that they really enjoyed it. So why don't I go out here and buy more of that kind of stuff? Just like as one example, not too long ago, Simon over at Explosive Action had recommended Niflheim to me. I mentioned that I'd only ever heard a few songs by the band. I think I've got like one 7-inch by them or something. It's like, oh, you should check more out. Here's a good album to start with. And the CDs have recently been reissued, so they're not too hard to get and they're actually affordable right now. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe I will. Thanks for letting me know. As of the time of this recording, I have not picked those up. I don't know. Maybe I will at some point. Maybe I won't. But for now, I'm not. Other things have come out lately too that I just passed on. Late 2024, Malevolent Creations Retribution album got reissued on vinyl. I've wanted a physical copy of that for a while. I have not bought that. The Psychotic Waltz CDs have been reissued recently, as has the Edge of Sanity catalog. A lot of those albums I don't have physical copies of. Those are two obviously very interesting bands. I would like to fill in a few more of those gaps in my collection. Haven't bought a single one of them yet. So, well, what's the holdup? They're right there on the computer. I can order them, physical copies if the stores don't have them. So why am I not doing that? This one goes back to the same problem with cost. You know, time and money have been the sort of common threads here for most of these questions. Buying stuff not only costs money, well, that's the first problem, is just the price. And the price of a lot of things has been kind of expensive recently. People have talked about it with vinyl a lot over the past 1 to 2 years. CDs are kind of having the same problem all of a sudden. Those Psychotic Waltz CD reissues, every distro I've looked at, they've been like 21.99, 22.99, 24.99. The same is true with the Edge of Sanity ones. It's like 19.99, 21.99, 23.99. And I'm just thinking to myself, when the hell did the price of a new CD reissue suddenly go past the $20 mark? I understand over time things will gradually get more expensive. It can't all cost exactly the same as it did when I was a kid. At the same time, that doesn't make me feel good about paying those prices for those things. I mean, again, this isn't new material. Maybe there's some bonus tracks added or whatever, but that's not the reason we're buying these. So I'm looking at, Psychotic Waltz. This isn't, a huge band that a million people are lined up waiting to buy. It's a really cool underground, progressive, traditional metal project, mainly recorded stuff in the 90s. Got overlooked badly. So yeah, for that underground level of folks who are into this band and never had a chance to pick them up, here you go. They're available once again at about 25 bucks a pop. When they came out, I had started putting them into my cart on some distro. I don't remember which one it was. I think they had three of them. I added them to my cart. I looked at the cart, and the total was over $80. I'm like, wait a fucking minute. But then it's like, yeah, okay, they're $24 each. So that's like $72. And there's $6 shipping, $78, and a couple of bucks, in tax. And yeah. do I want to pay $80 for three Psychotic Waltz CDs? I like the band a lot. I put them in my cart. It's not like I didn't want them, but do I want to spend 80 fucking dollars for them? No, I don't. I took them back out of the cart. It's an empty cart now and go about my business. Checked other distros, like maybe this one's just unrealistically high. No, they're all that high. Every distro I was looking at was about the same. And so I was like, I don't need this that badly. I can't sink that much money into three CD reissues. And I didn't. Same with the Edge of Sanity situation. It's becoming the same with a lot of things. The Niflheim reissues haven't been quite that expensive. I've seen them for a lot of sites for about $18 a piece. But, it's still not quite in the range I'd like to pick them up. Again, for a band that I know almost nothing about, it's kind of a blind buy in a way. Buying two Niflheim CDs, blind buy, 18 bucks a piece, plus shipping, plus tax, 45-ish dollars. That doesn't feel really good when you're working on a budget or you're trying to work on a budget. And I'm somebody that has to work on a budget. I don't have money to just completely throw around. I feel like I already probably spend too much as it is. So, yeah, money is a big issue with why I'm not buying more. But time comes into this question as well. I've only got so much time to listen to stuff. And to be frank, in recent years, I've bought too much. I got myself into a pattern where if I found things cheap enough, I was willing to pick them up and make those kind of blind buys and stuff. But that stuff piled up quickly, and a lot of it, I've played it all. I don't have anything sitting around here unplayed. If I get something, I'll get it played, within usually a few weeks at worst. But a lot of it I don't play very much. Give it a couple of listens, put it on the shelf, and in some cases promptly forget about it. So two examples that kind of wrap this whole thing up in terms of why I'm not buying more. Um, this Tribunal CD. I bought this last year from a distro on Discogs. It was not 10 bucks. It was less than that. I guess they had it on sale or something. It was probably about 7 bucks. So it's like, okay, people talk about that band. Heard that it could be interesting. For 7 bucks, that's cheap enough. Yeah, we'll add it to the cart. Checked out. I probably bought like 10 CDs from the vendor. They had a lot of stuff comparable to this on sale. Most of it I didn't know, but it was cheap. And I bought it. Got them all in, played them all a few times, but again, it starts stacking up. You've got old music you want to revisit, more new music that you're thinking about buying, and this stuff, it's like, let me play it a few times, but then I feel like I kind of have to move on. I played this a couple of times. I recognized as like, okay, they're doing the kind of, Beauty and the Beast vocals, female vocals are kind of gothy, the male vocals lean more black metal than death metal. That's about all I noticed about it. During the holidays, looking through the shelves back here, I spotted the CD. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I bought that. Um, I know I bought it with a bunch of other CDs. I couldn't even tell you what I bought it with at this point. What does that sound like? Didn't really remember much about it. Like, I kind of had in my brain that I don't think I cared for it that much. Maybe I should put in the VCOT stack, or maybe I should throw it in a stack of CDs and take to the local store and trade in for some credit. I don't know. Or maybe I should spend some time with it and figure out if I like it or not, because I don't seem to remember jack shit about it. So last night, put it on and just, gave it a good, focused listen, paying attention to that, not trying to do three other things at the same time. And yeah, the music on it's actually pretty good. I have a much better feel for it now. And it's like, no, that needs to stay on the shelf. It's not the greatest album in the history of recorded music, but it's good enough that I enjoy it, and I'll enjoy it in the future. But now I took the time to process it and get it into my head so I know what it sounds like. And I have dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of albums like this Tribunal one on those shelves behind me. Things that I've bought cheap, played 2 or 3 times, put on the shelf, and may or may not remember it's even there 6 months later. And so at this point, I'm thinking, why do I need to spend more money buying more stuff when I feel like I don't have a lot of time to listen to it, when I've already got tons of stuff to listen to that I'm not really that familiar with? Some of those records back there, yes, I know them inside and out, note for note. But there's also a lot of tribunals back there that I have a vague idea of what it sounds like, but I never really gave it enough time to sink in and have a fully, rounded, informed opinion about it. I don't need to keep buying stacks and stacks of more CDs and more vinyl when I've got plenty to walk to right there that I either haven't played in forever and I've gotten kind of rusty on what they sound like, or I never really gave a fair shake the first time around. Why don't I just do more of that? And that's something I have been making a concerted effort to do in the past few months. Now, yes, I know at the start of every year, a lot of people claim, oh, I'll buy less stuff this year. And everybody's like, ha ha ha, no, you won't. I know I bought too much stuff in 2024, but I have bought very, very little stuff since mid-October. In early October, I did put in one big CD order. And see, I couldn't even tell you what distro it was. I don't remember what it was or what I bought. It came in. I worked my way through it all. I put it on the shelves, and I probably haven't touched any of it since then. But November, December, first half of January, all combined, I bet I haven't bought six CDs, and I've bought no vinyl. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I want to spend more time on music I've already got, refamiliarizing myself with the old stuff, actually sitting down and giving these newer purchases their moment in the sun to decide how much I do or don't like them. If they're good, then I need to really kind of work them into my brain. And if they're not so hot and I don't care for them, I need to put them in the VCLT pile or trade them or take them to the local store, whatever. I need to do more of that kind of stuff. Second example, literally last night, I was looking for something online. I think I was looking for a shirt. I saw a particular design I liked recently. I was like, I wonder where they got that. Found a site that had a similar shirt. That site also had a bunch of CDs on sale for $5 a piece. I'm like, well, okay, I'll take a look. And before I knew it, I had, like, 10 CDs in the cart, probably, maybe more. And looking at it, it's just like, well, that's a fantastic price for all of those. There are even some newer releases that were on sale for whatever reason. But the more I looked at it, the more I'm like, do I need any of this stuff? It's more money to spend that I probably should be saving for something else. It's, do I need another 10 CDs sitting here in the shrink wrap waiting for my time to listen to them and process them? And after looking at it for a while, I was like, you know what? I just don't need that. I'd rather have the 50 bucks in my pocket and have my time free to listen to what I want to listen to and explore the music I've already got than be 50 bucks poorer and just have 10 more CDs that'll probably get two spins a piece. The more I looked at that list, I'm like, I don't really know anything about this band or this band or this band. These two I've actually got digital copies of from way back when, and I hardly ever play the digital copy, so why am I buying a physical copy? Yeah, I pull it down to like there maybe have been three at most out of the stack that was literally like, yeah, I would be happy to pick that up. Yeah, but at the end of the night, I just was like, fuck it. Hit the button that says empty cart, and I just moved on because I had plenty of other stuff to do and plenty of other things to use my time for and plenty of other things that I'm going to have to spend money on with bills coming down in the future. I got to take a certain little boy to a dentist this week. That's going to cost money too. So yeah, that's kind of, the last point here is, why do I not, buy more stuff? Why do I not follow up on more recommendations from folks? It often boils down to time and money. I just can't afford to buy it all. I certainly don't have the time to listen to it all. I do appreciate it when folks make recommendations. It's fun to, dial something up on YouTube, check it out, and just like, hey, that's great. And sometimes you're going to find something really spectacular that you do follow up with. You know, Simon, I didn't follow up on your Niflheim suggestion that I buy those, but I did follow up with Ara last year and have really enjoyed that band, and I've picked up several of their albums. But I've also been taking my time with the Ara albums and playing each one a lot of times to get a better feel for what each album is like, rather than just grabbing it, playing it a couple of times, and shelving it and remember that, oh yeah, it's an Ara album. I guess it sounds like the other ones. Well, those albums each kind of have their own unique character. And I've taken the time to figure that out, and I've enjoyed them more as a result. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Again, kind of an odd set of ramblings, but all these questions had a common theme. A lot of them were things that had come up where I've been asked about over time. So put it all together, it turned into a video topic. But now let's talk metal in the comments down below. Did any of this resonate with anybody? If so, that's great. Feel free to provide some feedback, discuss it with other folks in the comments section. If it doesn't resonate with you for whatever reason, that's okay too. This, again, kind of reflects where I am at as a fan and a collector at this point in my life. And not everyone's going to be at the same point. Other folks may be in a situation where they can spend tons of money every month. That's awesome. Congratulations, I'm happy for you. Other folks may have tons of free time where they can play lots of albums and spin them to death. That's awesome. Uh, Good on you. Enjoy it. Please do. It may not always be that way. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment down below. We'll wrap this one up. Next week, we'll get back to something with actual, band discussions, albums, discographies, or some sound clips. But until then, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.